And welcome to another edition of the 941 Sports Zone, episode number 14. And as always, we're presented by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, locally owned and nationally backed, delivering exceptional roofing for homes and businesses throughout the Gulf Coast. 941-251-4257 is the number, 941-251-4257. Well, John Turkey Day Masoni, we've reached the regional finals in football, rivalry weekend in college football, and Thanksgiving week in the NFL. It's getting late early.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what. I was pondering this on the drive home on Sunday from Gainesville. Is there really a better football weekend all year than what we're going to have right now? I mean, it's just phenomenal. The lineup on Friday of college football games it's awesome. I mean, I know that we're going to talk a lot about high school football on Friday, but boy, everything. I will be in front of the TV set until I have to get over to Powell Davis Stadium on Friday night because the games are just too good. And I'm sure, knowing the folks that are in that press box with me, there'll be a game or two on somebody's phone as things are going forward. So we'll see how that goes. But that's one day out of 4, and they're all going to be great. Because one thing I do like about Thanksgiving is that the Sunday games is a little more condensed schedule. So you get to see a little bit more, and it's not as like, we all love Red Zone, but sometimes it's hard to keep up with one game or another game or whatever like that. So I do like that condensed schedule, and then of course the two days of college football and high school football playoffs are just fantastic.
And what's becoming a tradition is the Black Friday game, and we've got a doozy on Friday as well in the NFL with Chicago and Philadelphia with major implications.
If Chicago wins that game. Okay, and I know that's a big if at this point. They have to be considered legitimately a contender at this point, because sometimes the momentum of what's happening in the season, you're watching Caleb Williams grow up under Ben Johnson's tutelage. You're seeing that there is some talent on that football team outside of they've got a team collectively that they can't be overlooked. Playing in Chicago, if they get any kind of home field in the playoffs, it's just atrocious. It's always cold and windy, and you name it. So we'll see how it all goes out. But yeah, that would be a Chicago victory. Could be monumental for their season.
All right, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We always start with high school football on the playoffs. Getting pared down. Your lock didn't come through because two teams that you thought were going to win didn't. But we'll start with the Venice Indians advancing to their 10th regional final under head coach John Peacock. And they did it with a huge second half. I know you were there. I know you were on the call of the game. This is 28-all at halftime. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the game a couple of years ago when West Orange came to town. It was a close game. Although Venice didn't blow it out like they did on Friday night. 70-35 ended up being the final.
It was just a wearing down process. I mean, West Orange had a lot of good athletes, a very impressive sophomore quarterback who threw for over 400 yards. But it was just the physicality and the conditioning of the Indians that eventually got them the victory. Everything started to roll downhill, and once it did, West Orange didn't have an answer for it. They tried to make plays, but at some point in time, it was just they were throwing the ball up, and there was 5 interceptions in the game, 2 returned for touchdowns, and so it just became that kind of a game where Venice just overwhelmed them at the end of the day, and that's what they do a lot of times. It's that you get in there and they give it. Every team has, especially in the playoffs, has some amount of athletes or coaching that's good, really good. Their coaching staff at West Orange put on a great display of play calling in the first half. Myself and Trey Burton were extremely impressed by what they did from a coaching perspective. But after a while, it's a wear down process. Macho Jones, 250 yards. It's just hard to keep up.
Coach Peacock can point to these games every year when it's January, February, March. And I'm sure it's hard to get out of bed. What are we going to the weight room at 6 o'clock in the morning for? This is what it is right here. This is 28-28 becomes 70-35. And it's much, I'm going to play Captain Stupid here. 70 points, 10 touchdowns. But the fact of the matter is, in the second half, the difference was the defense, wasn't it, John? Absolutely.
Because what happens is that defense starts to make tackles, starts to wear them down. It's almost bizarre to watch in a November high school football game where kids are going down with muscle cramps and you name it, because they're just not. It's the repetition. We saw one of their better athletes was playing not only wide receiver, he was also playing corner against a unbelievable sophomore wide receiver in Tyree Manning for us. And we're like, there's no way he's going to last, because there's no way you can chase that kid around on defense for 60 some plays and then go play offense for 60 some plays and expect to, and with that level of physicality that you're going to keep up. So there's a lot to be said about it. Plus, on top of everything else, the tempo is just ungodly. When that gets going, the pace of it, it's relentless, and there's no way you can keep up. It just, even mentally, it's taxing to try to figure out what's going on around you.
And Venice is going to play a team from Riverview, but not the one we thought. Sumner of Riverview upset Riverview of Sarasota, the Rams, 31-21 in Sarasota. I was a little shocked. I wasn't totally surprised. I told you guys last week I thought they were a pretty good outfit.
Yeah,
I thought there were a couple of teams that would put up a really good fight. I didn't think they'd win, to be honest with you, but Sumner does win. I got to ask you this. You've been with Coach Peacock forever, almost 2 decades now. He probably preferred it be the Riverview Rams, since he knows them inside and out, than Sumner, correct?
I think you're right. Although it's always the second time around that makes you worry sometimes, and they do have they did have success running the football against us. We saw that, but you're right. Sumner comes in as this team that is a bit of an unknown, and a bit of a exotic defense as well. I didn't see any film or hear its specifics as to why Sumner did as well as they did, but they blitz on every play. They're cover zero. They go after. They make you make plays, and that's an interesting challenge, because sometimes those exotic defenses they kind of mess up your blocking schemes, and you don't know where people are coming from. And it may take a quarter or two to kind of get up to speed. And sometimes when that happens, you might be down, because they're running their offense well, that kind of thing. So interesting matchup. Experience versus inexperience is another part of that equation too. So we'll see how it breaks out. But I would say that that Venice in this particular case is going to be a favorite just based on the seedings. Just pretty that's how it goes. But I don't think that Sumner is going to be somebody that can be overlooked, or they're going to the fact that they beat Riverview tells you what we need to know about what kind of team they are.
Yeah, the Stingrays, they are 10-2, I believe, or 9-2, I believe, going into the game this week. Riverview finishes the season at 9-2-1. Mark Christiani has a lot to build on. Only 2 losses were to the 2 teams playing against each other this week. So certainly he's got a lot to build on, and I'm sure he's going to have those boys in the weight room in January, February, and March, because he learned from the best.
He's weight room guy. I mean, if you probably asked Mark and say, what's love to do more, coach football or coach weight training or weight room, work the weight room, he probably said the weight room. He loves the weight room. It's sort of his passion. But a good beginning, because sometimes you see a step back when there's a shift in leadership on a football team. And in this case, that wasn't the case. It was a step forward. So there's got to be a lot of belief at Riverview that they're going to be able to do some things and pursue championships in the near future.
Of course, everything gets redistricted next year. It'll be interesting to see where they lie, as well as Venice lies. Will they end up in the same classification again, or will they be?
My guess would be no. Honestly, I think it would be a no, because the reduction in student population at Venice is going to be such that it's going to take them down, and I don't think they're doing the same thing at Riverview. So I think that's going to be an issue. But I will say this: if that is the case, scheduling will become a lot different, because you look at it from the perspective of coaches been having to go around and try to find teams to play or whatever it may be. Now that opens up the window to instead of having a district game against Riverview or Sarasota, you now have an opportunity to play them as a at-large game, if you want to call it that, and that might be something that happens as well. And I think around the area, with all these teams vying for state semifinal spots, you got to be knocking on those doors as much as well, because now the area provides the amount of scheduling that you need to be to have that extra punch to get to the number one seed in your region, or even further than that if that is the case.
So that's 7A. And 6A, the handwriting was on the wall last week when Palmetto only beat Wiregrass Ranch by 1 in a shootout. This week it was a defensive struggle, and Mitchell of Port Richey ends up getting the win 9-7, ending the season for Palmetto at 10-2. I'm not shocked again, with the result last week. It kind of opened eyes a little bit, but I thought Palmetto might be able to get it done, but only 1 touchdown in the football game. You're not going to win many games scoring 7 points. It
just surprised me, Rich, because I know Coach Sanders has got a pedigree. He knows he's been in those playoff games before. And knowing the level of talent that went to Palmetto this year, I thought they were going to out athlete a lot of teams. To see the score is more surprising maybe than the outcome. The 42-41 game that they won, I'm like, okay, that's a shootout. I can see them, but they only get 7 points with what I figured to be a really, really good offense. That's more surprising to me, the score maybe than the outcome. But I think that's again another building block, and you got to kind of you hate to sound that way. You say like, oh, this is a learning process, this and that. But we talked about it, and we've talked about it before. There is that a bit of learning. There is that bit. It's how the culture gets built to get there the next time, and then you got to know how to win. And when things happen in a game with a lot of pressure and the magnitude of a win or a loss in that situation, how do you handle that situation? Do you press more? Do you retreat? Do you get how do you coach? How do you play as a player? There's got to be some fine line. And the teams that have figured it out didn't figure it out overnight. They figured it out over a long haul, and that's why you see those teams hanging banners.
Yeah, second straight year the Palmetto bows out early. They went out in round 1 last year, go out in round 2 this year as the top seed. So congratulations on a nice season, but I know they would like to be playing this coming Friday night. A team that, quite frankly, I didn't think would be playing this Friday night, but I know you did.
Yeah.
In 5A, Manatee, they went down to Cape Coral, jumped on them early, and never looked back. 55-29 was the final as Manatee beats Cape Coral to even their record at 6-6, but that doesn't matter. They're 2-0 in the playoffs, and they play another team from Lee County, Riverdale. Riverdale had the struggles of their own, beating Immokalee only by 7. I think Manatee's got more than a puncher's chance here.
Oh, if you ask me to pick a game, I think Manatee's going to win that game and get to the state semifinal. Obviously, they play 5A football, and that is a rough road right now. They'll end up probably playing St. Thomas Aquinas in the state semifinals, and then on the other side you've got Lakeland, and I forget who they're playing, but it was another. It's Edgewater. Another really
cool. Edgewater.
Yeah.
Correct. I was just going to.
So you've got a tough road to toe for Manatee, but they've been there, done that. Going back to the Palmetto situation, like we said, they've kind of figured it out a little bit when it comes to how to do this stuff, and is the reason why Manatee wins in the playoffs, because they have that culture and that pedigree, and Coach Green has kind of set himself up for that kind of success. So it's something to look at for everybody else to see how Manatee did it. You'd love to have home field, but if you're good enough, you're gonna win football games, and if you make the playoffs, it's you have a chance to go as far as anybody else does. Everybody's got the same chance, and Manatee's loaded with talent, and they've figured out how to win football games in the playoffs.
Absolutely. In 4A, Port Charlotte got out to an early lead and held on for a 23-18 win over Clearwater. That was another game that I thought would be relatively close. I know it surprised Matt Geller when I said that last week, and it turned out one possession game. Clearwater had a chance in the fourth quarter, couldn't take advantage, and the Pirates advanced to a regional final for the second straight year.
And I was watching the game, and then there was a score was wrong. We thought that Port Charlotte had lost. One of the scoreboard people had flip-flopped the score on the internet. I'm like, they lost. I was just I just thought for sure that they were going to be able to get a tough game. I knew that would be the case, but I thought they were going to pull it out, and of course they did in the long run. But here we go. This is the stepping stone. This is the next stepping stone, and I still believe that they've got the makeup to do it. I really do believe that, and I got my fingers crossed and hoping that they do make it to this state semifinals.
But they are playing a wagon. Tampa Jesuit. I used to live in Tampa. They were the team that went the furthest year after year after year. They are always really good. They have won their first 2 games easily. They dispatched of Naples last week to the tune of 42-7.
Right.
So Port Charlotte better bring their A+ game to Tampa on Friday night.
Jesuit, over the years, the proximity of Jesuit and Plant, 2 private schools, when one's up, usually one's a little down. They don't seem to have the same, they don't meet up and having this similar amount of talent. So Jesuit's on the up right now. Got a quarterback going to the University of Florida, Will Griffin, a Jesuit guy. He started since the 8th grade up there at Jesuit. So going to be interesting. The battle of 2 Division I committed quarterbacks in state for both of them. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm hoping, Rich, that Port Charlotte takes this as a happy, let's go for it. Let your
play with house money.
Yeah, just go for it, because if you get to that point where, especially when you got the talent that they do, I've always said in that situation, a talented football team playing another talented football team, go out and get a lead on them. Go make them worry about it at home. There's a lot to be said about the psychology of that, and when you can match up pretty close to what Jesuit has. I haven't seen Jesuit's lineup, but I know Port Charlotte. If you've got an outstanding quarterback, outstanding skill position people, and a good defense, that'd be great. A good defense, boy, you can stay in it. And there's no problem. Go out there and just going blow for blow if you have to. But I hope that they go into it with the freedom to be successful, not the angst to worry about it. Just go out and be successful. That's how you win. That's how you win.
In 3A, Booker is doing things that are stupid. They beat Bayshore 51-0 in the regular season. They upped the ante 68-0 in the regional semis. Nice year for Bayshore. Took that step, won the first round game. We talked about that last week. Weren't going to beat Booker. Booker has outscored their first 2 opponents 143-0 in the first 2 rounds. And they're going to play a team with a tradition. I don't think they're going to waltz through this. Nature Coast Tech is a very good football team. They beat Tampa Jefferson, who's a playoff team year after year. They beat them 20-7 last week. And I don't think they're going to come to Booker and be intimidated. The problem, I think, for Nature Tech is going to be Booker just has talent.
Right. They're explosive is what they are. And it's just, and it's when you start seeing them hanging zeros up for the other team, that's really scary. You know what I mean? If their defense is playing that well, their offense is going to put points on the board. So it's going to be tough. But just like we talked about with Manatee, Booker goes from here. If they do get by, they get by Nature Coast.
Yeah.
It gets crazy for them too. With you've got Reigns, I believe is there,
yes. And
then of course the winner of Miami Northwestern and Miami Central. That's a lot to ask, at that point, because then there's more. I forget the 4th team or the potential for the 4th team, but nonetheless, that's a rough path. Booker took Reigns to the end of the game
last year. Yes,
very sort of tough ending with some ejections and different things like that. But nonetheless, they had the experience. They've got the experience of seeing what it takes to win those games and keeping your composure and however you want to put it there. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Booker continue on that path. Give me a little time after this happens, but I think there's going to be 2 state champions out of this area. I thought we'd have 5 at this point. I think there's going to be 2 state champs out of this area. I can kind of bet on the 2 that I might want to pick from, but I'll tell you that I think that there's a few teams that like Manatee, like the next team we're going to talk about, who've been there, who understand what it takes, had experience. Booker's on that cusp as well. At least 2 is what I think.
I think they're going to get a home game if they win, and I think that's going to be important.
Big time. So, Big time. I totally agree.
They had to go to Reigns last year. I think the reverse will be if they happen to be, because they reseed.
Right.
So they're going to reseed by the way it shakes out of who's left. And if it happens to be Reigns again, they get them at their place this time.
If there's a bunch of teams that make it, Xavier McKnight's going to have one heck of a busy Friday night. He was having a hard time figuring which game to go to begin with this past week. He might have a bunch of games again, but that's just unprecedented if it does happen, and you'd love to see it if that's the case.
And as you mentioned and teased, in 2A, Cardinal Mooney, no problems with Bishop of Rowe. Second time this year, 51-14. They will play a team that's usually good year after year. St. Pete Lakewood, 14-7 over Glade Central. So you look at the scores, you look at the results, and you say, well, Cardinal Mooney's got to be favored, but they better be on top of their game. I know they get to play at home, but Lakewood's not going to be intimidated coming down to Sarasota.
No, not at all. And I think that Lakewood, a couple of years ago, they were a juggernaut. I think they're still doing very well, but they were really super good a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. Mooney's got a couple of things that they got to face as well. They got a few teams that they're going to face. That they could face, it's going to really be a challenge to them. Although I think I wouldn't say quietly. Maybe it is. They have been very workmanlike, business-like. They're on a mission. I like that out of them. I like the fact that they're taking the Bishop of Rowe score indicates exactly that. They went out there and put it on them and didn't hesitate to go out there and take that win away. So We'll see. I do think that Mooney's going to go a long way. Challenged when they get there, but for sure they're going to go a long way.
And that game was 9-7 after 1. Mm-hmm. So it was a game for about a quarter and a half, and then Mooney just kind of pulled away. Finally, we didn't mention this last week, and I do apologize, but Bradenton Christian got all the way to the 8-man SSA championship game last week. They fell to Real Life Christian 38-14, but another tremendous year for Bradenton Christian as they get in the 8-man finals. How much longer before they decide maybe it's time to check out the 11-man game?
It's the administration. If they start seeing everybody else do it, they might pop into that category as well. I think it's a cool deal to have 8-man football for some of the schools. But if you've got the means, and I think that they do, I see them making the jump. I mean, Sarasota Christian did it, and they've been doing just fine. I think you create a bunch of rivalries that way. So I think there's something that they can jump into if they feel the time is right.
All right, so there you go. There's high school football. We'll have some great games coming up night after Thanksgiving on Friday night. Just a reminder that Venice has created quite a tradition with the Thanksgiving Day practice at 8 a.m. No different this year. They're already putting it all over social media. If you have the means, and man, I wish I could take a plane, but if you have the means, head on out there. It's a lot of fun, but you're going to see, the reason why Venice is where they are. I mean, they'll have some fun with this, but there will be a spirited practice day before the game coming up on Friday night against Sumner.
Yes, and it is a pretty it's a really cool tradition that sort of started and continues to go. Obviously, you have to win football games to get there.
Right.
The season's over before that. You don't have a practice like that. So it's fortunate enough that we've had the good fortune to be able to do it a number of years in a row now, and it is a very interesting thing. And you're right there on the rail, so to speak. You can hear the coaching going on, and you can see how things are going. And sometimes I think it's interesting. I see a lot of folks who are relatives coming into town for Thanksgiving, and they're coming to see their grandson or nephew or whatever it may be play football on Friday night, and they get to see the team and how fast it is and how big they are. And it's very interesting to see how people, are sort of like, they don't think that you look at them and you say, are these 16-year-old boys or what's going on here? And you see and again, you see the speed and the strength. You see the coaching because our coaches don't hide.
No, they don't.
If they're upset,
they don't.
They don't care who's there. Grandma's there. It doesn't matter. They're getting yelled at, so that's pretty cool. So, as long as you're winning, that's always a good, great tradition.
941 Sports Zone, episode 14, presented by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. 941-251-4257 is the number, locally owned, nationally backed. Weather's turning great. If your roof has some damage to it, now's the time to get it taken care of, especially before the non-locals pour in, if you will, the
snowbirds.
Snowbirds, thank you. Why can't I remember that? The snowbirds head on in. Some have already started to, but obviously, if you get it done before the first of the year, you're going to be ahead of the game. So again, Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, 941-251-4257. One of my favorite weekends of the year, as you mentioned, the high school regional finals, rivalry weekend, and there's a lot at stake in a lot of games this year with the 12-team playoff. I guess let's start there, John. The committee last week, the rules changed. I want to say they change yearly, but they change weekly. Suddenly now it's the quality of your losses that are more important than the quality of your wins. What? I mean, come on.
While they want to say that it's analytically driven, it's not. It's never going to be. There's the human elements involved. Yeah. It's no different than the strike zone in baseball. You can say that, I think it should be higher. I think it should be lower. Every game it changes. But when a robot is taking care of it, then there's no change. They're going to have the same strike zone. And here in this with the committee, they can't make up their minds. They're getting convinced. They got big ears. They hear everything everybody's talking about them, and then they flop over the other way. Hopefully, we don't have a situation where I think we've said it before. I'm not going to be upset for the 13th team. If you don't get in, you're 13. You should have done more. But the caveat to that is if you don't follow the rules that are set and you kind of make them flip-flop all, then I can understand being mad at the process at that point. I totally would understand that. But again, it's like you don't lose some of those games. Don't lose to that particular team or whatever it may be. But be consistent with your criteria, because that's the only way people are going to look at it as legitimately that you're doing the right thing.
Well, Tuesday night should be very interesting because I think they have to right a couple of wrongs last week, and I'll be blatantly honest. All right. Notre Dame and Miami being as far apart as they are, we talked about that last week.
Right.
Notre Dame obviously heard the noise because they went out and just beat the brakes off of Syracuse. That game was 28-0 with like 7 minutes to go in the first quarter.
It was 21-0 and the offense never touched the ball.
Right. Incredible. So obviously the voices were heard, and let me give Fran Brown some credit, the coach at Syracuse. You get beat 70-7. You're like, what? You really had to get 70, but no, he was the other way. He was like at the press conference. He was like, I hope to get to where Notre Dame is someday. To have their tradition and to, have to do things that way, do things the right way. He thought, it was fair and square, and he knows where he was. He knows that Notre Dame needed some style points.
Sure.
He took it like a man.
And he also says the coach that made his team run wind sprints after they won a football game. So he's creating, and I like that. I like the fact that he's putting together his brand of football, his brand. I think players, while initially they may not like it, they will respond to that positively as time goes on, especially when the results come around. And when you next time, 2 years from now, maybe you're beating Notre Dame, maybe not 70-7, but you're beating Notre Dame. That means something. This is the point that you realized we have to get better. We just can't roll it out there and beat anybody.
We're going to start. We started there, but we're also going to go coaching news. Florida State announced on Sunday that they are retaining head coach Mike Norvell and going to throw some more NIL money into the pot, despite the Friday night debacle in Raleigh against NC State, 21-11. They have to win this Saturday. We'll talk about it at Florida to be bowl eligible. They have 2 more wins than the Gators, and they're a 2.5-point underdog in the game. But back to Florida State making that announcement. It doesn't surprise me. I'll be transparent. I'm a Florida State guy. I just think they think the buyout is just way too much, and they're going to give him one more chance. Now, a lot of people are very upset. Norvell took over for Willie Taggart because the AD at the time said 6-6 isn't good enough. Well, if they win and get to a bowl, they're going to be 6-6. If they don't, they're going to be 5-7. So talk out of both sides of your mouth. But, the buyout is in the $50 million range, and I know they don't have to pay it all at once, but Florida State doesn't have as deep of pockets as everybody else, especially the teams in the SEC. So, am I a little sad by it? Yeah, but I go back to what you've been saying for weeks now.
Who's the next guy?
So who's the next? Exactly. Who's the next guy? Who are we going to bring in? Is it Gus Malzahn? Really? I don't think so. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure that Gus survives after the Florida game, to be truthfully honest with you. I'm hearing that it's going to be a lot of changes, particularly with the coordinators and the staff. But
I think that's what they're doing. They're leaving the figurehead there, okay? Mm-hmm. And they're saying, well, let's try something different. Let's just say that's what they're going to say, but not the head coach, the coordinators. Hey, run a different defense, run a different offense, whatever it may be, because that's what we do. That's what a new coach would do anyway. A coach is going to bring the people in. So if Norvell's willing to sit there and be the doorman, so to speak, for the program and just come on in, you guys try to do it better the next time and be supportive or whatever that may be. He should be worried about organizational stuff, recruiting, NIL. Let him be the CEO if that's the case for the time being. Bring some people in, maybe overpay a little bit for a coordinator from somewhere else. Maybe a guy who could be the next guy, or maybe a guy.
Well, they already overpaid for Gus. Overpaid for Gus. I
thought Gus was a giant Band-Aid on a gushing wound because of how bad that season went. And Gus, Gus is a bit of an opportunist. Maybe he thought that maybe that he went in there and was successful with Mike Norvell. He could parlay it into something else. He got himself out of UCF, a ship that he shot a hole in the bottom of it, so it starts sinking, and then he left. So he didn't really give any favor to himself going to a bigger, let's say a bigger school, so to speak, to try to get his credibility back as an offensive play caller. Didn't quite work out for him. But he didn't have the players. The fact that I'm this is not pointed at you. I have more Florida State friends than I do Gator friends. That everybody thought that Thomas Castellanos was going to be the reason that they were good. There's a reason why he doesn't play for Boston College. He couldn't make it there.
Why would he that in the offseason?
Yeah, so it doesn't make any sense. But again, you think, change of scenery or whatever else, Gus Malzahn, yada yada yada. You go out and beat Alabama. So it looks like the greatest decision of all time until the next 5 weeks, and it looks like the worst after that. So I think Florida State is in a interesting situation. I think they like Mike Norvell. Okay, I think they like him as a human being. Right. And so I think that he's willing. I think he's a guy who's going to toe the company line. That being said, let's see what another year brings. And I know that most FSU fans are complacent with this situation, if not angry. But I think when they look at it for the reasons behind it, there'll be a bit of understanding. It doesn't make it any easier to swallow, but it make understanding. Look at Florida. I'm sure we'll talk about it here in a second. But there's a lot of decisions being made at Florida that you might think, this is a great deal. They got rid of Billy, and now they got this. Oof. It isn't a pretty picture behind the scenes right now at UF with this hiring process.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
We mentioned earlier Miami. They beat Virginia Tech 34-17. Probably should have been a little more impressive, but it was a road win. And they're going to hang their hat on going to Pitt and doing better than Miami did, and they are better than Notre Dame did. And be careful because Pitt is hot right now. They knocked off Georgia Tech, scoring the first 28 points of that game. and hanging on. Pat Narduzzi doing things for Pitt, trying to get them into a New Year's Day bowl game. And they're trying to build that program. A lot of people saw Pitt as better than they're going to end up, but they still may end up 9-3.
Yeah, no, they're a good team. They play solid football. They just got caught in a buzzsaw a couple times. They are a 9-3 team. That's what they are.
9-3 in the ACC though, John. 9-3 in the ACC. Yeah,
but you'll get a nice bowl. Yeah, get a nice bowl. That's what you'll get out of it. Yeah. But no, I used to mention Miami again. Not a big fan of Mario Cristobal. This is kind of what he does, and not a big fan of the quarterback either, Carson Beck. I just think that very streaky. Gets very gets sort of crappy with the media a little bit here and there. I'm not sure that's a recipe for much success, although they've done well. And you can't argue that they
played very well last week. Only 5 incompletions and 34 attempts, I think.
And there's the potential for that, but then you see where he goes in other situations. There's no consistency to that.
Against Louisville. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Why is that the case? And then when it happens, you don't want to be accountable for it. Your first reaction is, well, they didn't do this or they didn't do that, and like, come on, man. You're the quarterback.
You're the quarterback.
Just like being the coach, you take it. You take the hit like everybody else does. And so I think that's the thing. It's a one and done deal with him. He won't get drafted. He'll be a free agent quarterback somewhere, and we'll be talking about who he was as a past player down the road. So maybe a trivia question someday.
22nd ranked Tennessee finally got to play Florida late in the year. Unfortunately, the Gators were not up to it. 31-0 at the half, John.
It should have been 62-0. It was atrocious.
It was really bad. They kind of Florida competitive, at least in the second half, still ended up 31-11. Lane Kiffin rumors are flying. There's a lot of intel that things might not be going as Gator fan would like. I don't want to get into it unless you do.
Just real quick, I'll just kind of address it. I've said it before, I'm not a Lane Kiffin fan.
Right.
I'm just not. I don't like him. But if you're going to go out and get a guy and that's your target, then go get him. Okay. Right. Don't play around. Don't do this. My what's bugging me, I'll have something to say to this as well. Mm-hmm. But they on the field, what I'm looking at, everybody's like, well, they fire Billy Napier. Okay, great. Then you go play a really good game against Georgia and lose. Crap the bed against Kentucky. Don't even show up. Play a really good game against Ole Miss. Chance to win. You lose. Crap the bed against Tennessee. And a lot to do, what I'm looking at is a defense that is looking at an offense and saying, what are we doing here? Mm-hmm. You're not giving us a chance. You're 3 and out against a tempo team. You played right into Tennessee's hand. You might as well give them 4 aces and say, stick them up your sleeve because this is what's going to happen. You've got a quarterback and DJ Lagway who is one of the biggest disappointments. And he's only a young guy. Don't get me wrong, but he doesn't look like he's even close to being ready to play. And I know he didn't practice for 9 months, but somebody made the decision to make him the starter. And it's probably in his NIL deal that he does play or has to play. I'm coming there. I'm not riding the bench. This is what I do. I'm not here to be a backup. And this is what you get. This is a byproduct of making promises to somebody who's not ready for prime time at this point. He's bringing down the whole temperament of the team is bad. The defensive line was not even trying to get off blocks last week. They were just putting their arms out trying to make tackles. Just again, they actually had players on the field that I've never seen before. And now you're in week 11 and you're like, what? Who are these players? Maybe because they're trying to get somebody who's going to go out there and give a damn. I don't know. What'll probably end up happening, Rich, is they're probably going to come out on this Saturday and play like hell. Because this is the last game of the year and they're going to put it on the line and it's going to be whatever. But it's going to be interesting to see how each side plays, because will they both keep on playing, or will one guy, the first guy to get slapped, is he going to say, okay, I'm out, no problem, we'll see you next year? Or will they continue, or will it be one of these, outstanding rivalry games. We'll see.
Yeah. And I thought it was going to be on CW or Cartoon Network, but it's actually on ESPN too at 4:30. I'm half tongue in cheek here. Anyway,
I said Weather Channel to my friends when disasters happen or whatever, that kind of thing. So that was my approach to it.
USF, the week after the Navy game, they beat up UAB 48-18. UAB had an interesting situation going into the game.
Is that crazy?
A UAB player was arrested and charged with attempted murder after he stabbed two teammates in the morning of the game. Well, Trent Dilfer's got to be laughing somewhere. He really does, although he probably recruited the kids and picked them, but still. Just
a portal kid from Kentucky, a Florida high school kid. Who knows about that situation? But if that's obviously there's no turning back from that. You're going to go to jail. You've ruined your life, and with the promise of potentially getting an education. And what do you do? Do you feel sorry for somebody like that? I mean, if there's a mental problem or some mental deficiencies, yeah, you maybe a little bit, but that's unheard of to have a stabbing. It's crazy.
The morning of the game, just unreal. So USF moves to 8-3 on the season. They're going to get the 9 wins. Interesting to see what kind of bowl game they come up with, unless we have complete chaos in the AAC.
Well, question for you, Rich. I got a question for you. With the whole season right in front of you now, Alex Golesh, what do you think of him as far as his grade, if you want to call it that?
Well, the games they lost, he had a hand in.
Yes.
Okay, he had a direct hand in, not kicking a field goal up in the game, late in the game. But he's not alone. When we get to the NFL, we'll talk a little bit about
crazy.
That. It's unreal. I think he's first of all, I think he's an excellent recruiter and an excellent motivator.
Yes.
And he's got an eye for talent. They've got talent on that team. There's no
question.
Yes,
they do. Right.
And they had a brutal schedule at the beginning, but one can still argue that they're going to end up underachieving for the year because the fact that this team is not in the AAC championship game in all likelihood is just mind-blowing to me with all that talent, with Byron Brown at quarterback, who's a really, really good quarterback, especially, for the AAC, but he's a really good D1 quarterback.
Best quarterback in the state.
Yeah, there you go. And it's not even close.
No.
Sorry, Thomas Castellanos. But in all seriousness, I don't know if he's going to get another shot because I think somebody's going to scoff him up. There's just too many openings, and there's going to be too much money thrown his way. It'll be interesting to see. Does he get
my question for you? Yeah.
Yeah. Does he get the Auburn job? Does he get a low-level SEC job, Auburn, Arkansas? Does he manage maybe to slide into Vanderbilt when Coach Lee decides to leave? And I think right now he's the favorite to end up in Florida, to be truthfully honest with you. I also, does he, somebody really woo him? It'll be interesting to see. They've got a final game against Rice. I'm sure they're going to cook Rice. No pun intended.
No.
I've got 3 or 4 games on the slate that I think are locks. Of course, my locks have gone completely south. I've lost the last 3 weeks, but I've got several games to choose from. But in all seriousness, you could see USF running it up, and that's a kind of a job interview / resume builder for Coach Golesh. We'll see.
So I think you're right. That's why I was asking about that. But I think that if he was smart, he'd stay at USF.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
It's a program building scenario. He could have a body of work that will be. I don't think they're going to get worse. I think they're going to continue to grow as a team.
They got the new stadium coming
up. And what I'd love to see him do, Rich, and I always said this about UCF too. Granted, you're competing for 4-star guys or 5-star guys in the state of Florida, recruiting wise, can be difficult. I get that. Because it's not just Florida State, Miami, and Florida. It's every damn school in the country.
FAU's bowl eligible.
Right. They're all coming here to get these big athletes. But you put up a season like this at USF, and you can say, look at what we did. We beat Florida. We did all the different stuff, played Miami tough, whatever you want to look at it, right? Go out there. I'd love to see him be able to kind of break the ceiling on recruiting and start going after some 4- and 5-star guys. Not 16 of them. That's not, I'm not that stupid to think that. But go get yourself a quarterback that's, you know, a DJ Lagway-ish kind of hit. Go find a guy and then really make a run at some things with the program. Get more coaching experience, because where he's not going to go to a proven winner. He's going to go somewhere where it's like you kind of got to make your way. And what happens in those situations when you go too early and maybe you're not ready for it, you get caught up in the minutia and you become a whatever happened to guy. Oh, he's an OC at Old Dominion, or he's out in Kansas State, or whatever. Again, nothing wrong with that. But if your aspirations, and it seems like his are this way, to be a big time coach at a big time school, I would build my resume a little more at USF and build the talent there and show them what you can do, and then really walk in and make demands and maybe get a program that's maybe he's a Florida State guy at some point in time. Who knows? Yeah, but I think that's what I would do.
And maybe USF, there's a lot of scuttlebutt and it's got some legs. Maybe USF in 2 years ends up in the ACC.
They should.
You and I don't really think much of the ACC, but I think that would be an upgrade for the conference.
What it sure would. The fact that UCF went all the way to the Big 12, and which has sort of left them in a bit of a obscurity in some ways. Where are they playing? What channel is it on? Kind of thing. If USF could get into the ACC, that's a trump card over top of UCF and all those other schools that are a little below the top three. But you're in a conference where you can go to. Now you have a guarantee. You have a guarantee to get there. Look what James Madison did. Yeah. Okay. And they came up and boom, right off the bat, they're doing really well, right? So I think that he'd be better suited to wait and go for the big one from here, as opposed to going to sort of I wouldn't call it a lateral move, but I would say, hey, you know, I get where Auburn is. I get that's a good job. There's other good jobs out there as well, but I would, with him and the hotbed of the state of Florida recruiting wise, got a lot of publicity out of his early wins. And so I think there's something to be said about sticking around and trying to make it better here.
And was he really telling the truth? Does him and his family really love it here to the point where he wants to stay? Hey, USF has got to come up with some more bucks. I can tell you that. Right.
If he's telling the truth,
I think Rob Higgins being their GM now. I mean, I think that's another great thing. It's another huge upgrade for them.
Is it more important to give your coach $2 million or more a year, or to go try to buy a kid off in the portal? You don't know what you're going to get. You know what you got in your coach. Invest in it. You know, double down on it if you have to. That's what I would do, and I think that's the proper situation. So I think he should stay, but will he? I have no idea.
We'll see. UCF, man. I mean, they've got a shot to be bowl eligible in the fact that they're 5-6. But if you can only beat Oklahoma State at home by 3, 17-14.
You had to come back to win. It was a comeback.
Man, you know, and I know a lot of UCF supporters, and I know several of them watch this podcast. 5 years later now, was that a good move? I mean, honestly, they can't compete defensively. They couldn't compete defensively in the conference they were in. Okay.
Right.
So in the AAC. So now, you know, they're struggling mightily. I think they're going to get dump trucked by BYU, because BYU needs to win and
absolutely
stylishly this Saturday. So another 5-7 season. Scott Frost, he's going to get a couple of more years there because they paid him good money. You know, and he worked his magic the first time, and quite frankly, the first year he was even worse than that at UCF, and then managed to build things. But it's a little different now. It'll be interesting to see how they approach things, you know, in year 2 of the Scott Frost era, because, man, they're not even they're I think I was looking at the standings today. They're 13th in the Big 12. If you're below the number of the name of your conference, that's a problem. That's a real big problem.
Yeah. It's like being on the SEC alternate channel. You're
right.
You're not on the real channel.
SEC Plus.
Yeah, that's where they are. SEC Plus.
Yes.
Big 12 Plus.
Oregon took care of USC's playoff hopes last week out in Eugene, 42-27.
Good.
But the Ducks are not home. They have to play at Washington. If they don't win that game, I don't think they make the playoff because their resume is not that great either.
I agree. And interesting game to watch because another name that I think is going to become prominent once Lane Kiffin decides not to go to Florida is Jedd Fisch from Washington. He's moved his way up. He has ties to Florida. So I think there's potential there. And you really in this day and age, you offense rules the roost. I mean, defense, you have to have a defense, but you can turn it around quicker with a fancy offense than you can with a stout defense. You know, you don't want a lot of 3-0 games. You know what I mean? You got to score points in this day and age. So if he's an offensive minded guy, you're probably going to get him on the cheap compared to what you would have paid somebody else.
Right.
Be interested to see how he plays against, because Dan Lanning is another guy that people would say, hey, when's he coming back to the SEC? After his Oregon, where he gets tired of being cold and rainy all the time, when is he going to come back to Florida or come back to the SEC, I should say. So both of those guys we're going to be a lot of people watching that game to see which guy is sort of the next guy that's going to maybe do something as far as moving into a position down here in the sunny, hot part of the United States.
This is interesting because if Washington does beat Oregon, and Oregon is 10-2, and they're left out, does Dan Lanning change his mind? Because he's been I'm staying at Oregon. I have no reason to leave. That might be a reason to leave. And I know, again, their resume is not nearly as good, but, the Big Ten potentially could have as few as 2 teams in the playoff.
Well, nobody's looking at the Big Ten. And by the way, this is not an indictment of Ohio State or Indiana at all. Okay. But nobody watches Big Ten football and thinks, ooh, can't wait till Wisconsin gets a hold of Ohio State. Okay. Look at Nebraska won it. I know some Nebraska people, and they were pounding their chest all year. Oh, rules got it figured out. I love when fan bases call their quarterback by his first name like they have him for dinner every Friday night before the game. You know what I mean? So Dylan, yeah, I'm like, who? That kind of thing. But to go get your face slapped against Penn State at this point in the year,
yes,
and yet something on the line, not even close. It doesn't bode well. What happened to teams like Michigan State? They just fallen off the map.
Well, Michigan State's pretty simple. They think they're a basketball school. They're not spending the money in NIL, so they're going to be at the bottom of the Big Ten for the foreseeable future unless they decide to start investing in the football team.
But they've got to get to the point where you look at the Big Ten and say you got to be 6 to 8 deep in order to that legitimately the 8th best team can win it. A game, so looking at, and I guess the comparison would be the SEC. You can rattle off teams right down the list you'll reach a point like, oh, it stops there. But you got to get a little more depth. And I think this is why there's a little bit of a problem for Oregon. Oregon came in, people are still not used to the fact that Oregon and USC and UCLA are there.
I don't think they've been accepted by the Big Ten.
No,
that's a problem.
I think that they're like a satellite situation. It's like, oh, we got this nice couple guys. We'll roll them east every once in a while to come play, and we'll go out there for a little sun and a little relaxation and go play out there. It's not doing UCLA any good, and I think USC their product is not the same. Right. What's the sale to the local kid? Say the local kid, you're recruiting the kid from modern day, and you're like, oh wait, we got this great rivalry with Purdue. What? What is that? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense to me. And so I think there's going to be a problem. And Oregon State, there's nothing there anymore. That was a decent rivalry. Washington State, same thing. It's just like it's bizarre just to watch it happen. They would be better suited to go and sort of cultivate the Pac-12 or whatever it was.
Whatever it's going to end up being, right?
Gobble up some Mountain West teams that you could do it. But I mean, at this point, it's I don't know how they would pull it off. But again, if Lanning sort of gets overlooked because the Big Ten is not that great, and he's considered the second-tier Big Ten school, why would you not want to go down? Because he can go to Auburn, he can go somewhere anywhere for that matter. I keep saying Auburn, but he can go anywhere down there and get more run than he's getting at Oregon.
Agreed. All right, this week, obviously, rival. Oh, I got to mention one other thing from games last week. Yale spanked Harvard. Spanked undefeated Harvard. When I was growing up, I had a friend of mine, Leo Lawrence, and his family used to take me to the Yale Bowl 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay.
And I got a chance to see 2 or 3 of those games. And this is back in the late 70s, early 80s when Harvard and Yale were playing.
Right.
Now they actually play, I watched some of that game the other day. I mean, they play damn good football. Both those teams are going to be in the FCS playoff. And thank goodness the Ivy League finally said, "Hey, we're gonna."
That's what I was hoping you would say. That's finally, because go out there and play. What's the? Come on, how many more games is it? You got to do that. I'm totally fired up for that because they're not. None of them are going to go to Division I, right? They're not. Nobody's going to get the.
There's a rare case. Case.
So now you got something that you can really sink your teeth into. Playoffs, boy, I think it's a great deal. Really great deal.
Yeah. So Yale beats Harvard, ends their undefeated season, and actually ends up tied with Harvard, so they get the automatic bid, if you will, the Ivy League's automatic bid. So Harvard's going to have to try to get there as an alternate. I think they expanded to 20 teams. They've got a really weird-looking bracket. So,
but I will say this: they've been doing it for so long. They've done it right, and I love what they've done with the championship game by pushing it back a few weeks after the semifinals. Nobody's any worse for wear in that situation. I think it's really cool. What an interesting matchup, a Yale or a Harvard versus North Dakota State, or something along those lines.
Washington,
it would
one
be
of the
cool.
perennial powers.
It might maybe it'd be a little bit of an ass whipping. You never know, but still, let's go out there and see what we got. I think these kids that are playing Ivy League football are going to be super excited and super fired up to show how good they are.
Yes, no question about it. By the way, Eastern Washington plays on the red turf.
Yes.
Out there in Eastern Washington.
Red, blue, and I think there's a yellow somewhere, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, God.
Hard to look at. Get you a little.
Yeah, here we go. Mustard. Woo!
Little woozy.
All right. We mentioned Florida State going to Florida. Vegas finally got smart. Florida State hasn't won a road game since 2023. They were somehow favored last week, and this idiot took them. Florida is actually favored by 2.5 to try to get to 4-8, but more importantly, to try to stop FSU from getting a bowl bid. Will the kids care? That's the big question, because you listen. Last Saturday night, John, they didn't even lick the stamp to mail it in.
There was no care, no nothing. And honestly, the points that were scored, I think they were against Tennessee's backups. You know what I mean? There wasn't like Tennessee did. There was a point where they knew they were going to win, and they ran the ball out. That game was that was a layup. That was a practice for them.
Miami at Pitt. That's noon on ABC Saturday. 6.5-point favorite are the Hurricanes. That's a dangerous game. Some people circled that game at the beginning of the year as a problem for Miami, and
I think it's a loss. That's what I would, if I'm picking, it's a loss.
UCF, I mentioned it earlier. They actually have a shot to be bowl eligible and go 6-6. All they have to do is go to Provo and beat 11th ranked BYU. John, why is that line only 18.5?
I don't know. I don't know.
Incredibly low, and I'm going to get suckered into it, as you'll hear in
I mean, BYU to me is a physical football team, right to their quarterback, Bear. His name is Bear, and he's 265. Yes. They play. That's a brand of football that I don't care who they could walk into Ohio State and physically match up with them.
Yeah, problem is they didn't match up physically with Texas Tech a couple of weeks ago. And if they win this game, they've got to probably get another shot at them.
I think
we'll wait and see.
I watched that game, pretty much the 3/4 of it, and I thought that BYU came in with a very crappy game plan. They put a lot on the kid, the quarterback, the young kid. He wasn't ready for it. The atmosphere was more, it was way too big for him. And Texas Tech, they've bought some athletes, my friend.
Yes, they have.
They have some athletes.
There's some money out there.
There's some money being spent there. And you saw that. I'm like, so physically, I think BYU can hold up. But as far as the talent level, Texas Tech's going to surprise some people. They're going to show up at the first round game, and the people are going to go, "What is that?" You know,
they may get a bye.
And they get a bye.
That's things go. They might get a bye.
Yeah.
You know, if Texas A&M beats Alabama in the SEC championship game, I think Texas Tech's the fourth team, and they get the bye. So we'll have to wait and see. I mentioned USF's a 4-touchdown favorite against Rice on Saturday as well. The Friday games, you mentioned it. The Egg Bowl starts it off, which is 11 a.m. out there.
I know.
Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Another line that's very curious, only 7.5. Lane Kiffin better win this game. That's all I got to say. And it's a rivalry game, and Mississippi State's been competitive in a lot of their games. This is going to be interesting.
So Lane Kiffin has left a lot of people, the teams and they all hate him when he leaves.
Yes.
Al Davis hated him. Tennessee wanted to kill him. They had to make his resignation from the basement of his whatever. USC didn't like him. He put them on probation. You know, all this different stuff that happened. He's left a trail of sour people. And what a worse scenario possibly could be is go out and lose the Egg Bowl to Mississippi State and then announce you're going to go to LSU to go be the coach. Your rival. Both LSU is their rival. Georgia and Florida. So if he goes to LSU after pronouncing his love of Ole Miss, okay, they're nice people. There is no way that they're going to be okay with him going and grabbing money and going up over a little bit to the west and go play at LSU. I think they have no problem if he went to Florida. I don't think they have a problem at all with it. LSU, they'll hate his guts.
The other noon game on ESPN, there's the Mighty Dog in the background. 12th ranked Utah, who survived last week. They were down double digits in the fourth quarter to K-State, came back and won. Now they go to Kansas, and that is a noon game on ESPN. As I mentioned earlier, Utah nearly a 2-touchdown favorite in that one. I think Utah, but there's going to be some teams, like you said, you don't feel for the 13th team, but there's going to be a lot of good teams that are left out.
Yeah, but I think we're looking at college football from the perspective that there's probably we could probably name off a top 4 and be in pretty close agreement on it. You know what I mean? Based on record and performance. But there's probably from the starting at number 5, there's probably 20 teams that could be legitimately could be eventually be playoff teams. Just a matter of what games you win and lose, and because you're going to win a few that you shouldn't and lose maybe a few. So I think that's the gap. The top is very thin. The middle or just underneath that spot is heavy. And then the rest of them are just doing what they're doing. So, I think that there's going to be some upset people, but I think again, there was no argument of 15 years ago when it was just 1 and 2. You didn't have a chance. So we got to take
some threes got a problem, but you only had one issue there. The 3:30 ABC game on Friday, 4th ranked Georgia at what was 16th ranked Georgia Tech. I'd be interesting to see if Georgia Tech remains in the poll. 12.5 is the Georgia is favored. This game is played at the Mercedes-Benz Dome. That's been moved from on campus. Georgia Tech wants it that way for recruiting. This was the 8 overtime game last year. Does Georgia Tech have anything for Georgia though? After watching that Pitt game,
Georgia Tech might be the one school that's the little brother, if you want to call them that. They're a long time around, but that always gives Georgia fits, or at least gives them fits more than most. The problem I have is that the style of play that Georgia Tech plays, I don't see how they beat. I don't see how they beat Georgia. And that's go grab your leather helmet and let's go play. That's what Georgia Tech plays. And Georgia's just got too many. They're just too athletic to win a game like that. Although they almost beat them last year, so I could be wrong. But I don't see it. Disappointed in last week's game with them. Thought they just sort of, they gave up, I thought, a little bit there. And
they fell behind 28-0.
Right
off Jump Street.
It's tough. I know it was tough. But I thought they would have been a nice story if they would come out and maybe win the ACC. But now it looks like it's a whole different.
They went from in the driver's seat, win that game, and you're in the ACC championship game, which, by the way, will be seen only by friends and family. But nonetheless, you would have been in that game, and now you need all kinds of chaos just to get a chance. So second-ranked Indiana is going to have no problem with Purdue. That's a rivalry game. The old Oaken Bucket, 7:30 on NBC. NBC on Friday night is going to be like, oh, can we get some people to hang out till the second quarter in that game? Texas and Texas A&M, and that's in Austin. It's 3 versus 17. Texas will probably move up a few spots. A&M's only a 2.5-point favorite in this game. And this is a rivalry. It was ended when Texas A&M went into the SEC.
Yep.
A lot, Texas A&M has always had an axe to grind because of that. I think Texas A&M puts Texas out of their misery in this game. I really do.
I think so too. A home game is in a rivalry is a big deal, for that one. But I like Mike Elko's demeanor.
Yeah,
I think he is. Don't judge a book by its cover. He kind of presents himself as the sort of the big sloppy coach on the sideline, And he's a very. I like the way he speaks about his team. I like the way he. Sort of his motivational approach to things as well. I think I think you're right. I think they could absolutely manhandle Texas. And sidebar to that, everybody's saying about teams, coaches leaving and doing this and that. If Sark gets blown out, does he go? Because he's to the NFL.
He has been adamant, but
I don't believe it.
Again,
so there's smoke, there's fire, man, and there's no doubt about it. And so I think that could be an interesting situation because college football is frustrating in some situations, and this whole season for Texas is one giant frustration. Looking back at the Florida loss, look how bad that loss is now.
Yes,
it looked like Florida
$40 million they spent on their roster. 40.
Oof. And the quarterback, they're. Arch Manning and DJ Lagway both looked like they played some small school, high school games. They didn't learn a lot of stuff. Arch probably learned a lot from his uncles, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But it takes a lot of you got to play competitively against some teams to get that going. And he looked like he was not ready for anything that Texas' schedule had in front of him. So now it can be great next year if there is a next year. We'll see.
Saturday. We started with I hate that they call this the game because to me Harvard and Yale's the game, but nonetheless, Ohio State at Michigan. A lot of people feel if Michigan can somehow find a way to win this game, they're going to get in the playoff and knock somebody out. And the way the standings are right now, that somebody would be Alabama, even though they would probably go to the SEC championship game. I mean, the Michigan win. I'm an Ohio State. Always have been. I lived in Ohio for a while. A little bit of a fan, but Michigan winning this game would just throw a monkey wrench into everything. Everything.
It's unbelievable what'll happen because you're right. The media, especially that northern media, will be all over put Michigan and over Alabama. They'll point to Alabama's loss to Florida State. They'll do all that different stuff, right? They'll definitely do that. And they're dying to get to help legitimize their conference. Michigan's not there. You got the two top teams, like I said, and really sort of a bunch of other guys below them. This would be the chance to say, no, look, it's Michigan. They got to get in there. They beat Ohio, the great Ohio State. Blah 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 blah. Ohio State should go out there with a freshman quarterback from Michigan and just lay one on them. And if I'm Ohio State, look, it's a rivalry. Nobody likes each other to begin with. I'd run it up against Michigan. You need to bury them while you can.
Listen, again, that was the talk last year.
Yeah.
No, I know. Michigan couldn't throw the ball. Michigan couldn't do this. Michigan couldn't do that. Turned out Ohio State couldn't do anything. Their field goal kicker.
And it's in Ann Arbor, so that means something too. I
exactly. Ohio State is favored by 9.5. This is Matt Geller's lock. He thinks that Ohio State is just going to kill Michigan.
Yeah.
And I would like that, but again, the reporter, the sports guy in me wants chaos, and Michigan winning would bring chaos.
Yeah, no doubt. It's a great story.
We already talked about Oregon going to Washington. They're favored by nearly a touchdown. Those two teams don't like each other. Big rivalry there. LSU and Oklahoma. That's the 3:30 game on ABC. I don't think Oklahoma should have any problems, but boy, their offense has really, really, really struggled lately. They only got 17 last week against, Missouri, who certainly doesn't scare you defensively.
Well, you keep John Mateer in the pocket. He's not the same player. So that's pretty simple.
Vandy and Tennessee. When was the last time Vandy was actually the higher ranked team? And even though that's the case, Tennessee's still the favorite in the game.
No, it's at Knoxville. So that's a big part of that. But this game, again, SEC guy talking here, is an interesting game to me because Vanderbilt is the better team, my opinion. Okay. Yeah. They're better coached and they got better players. The quarterback situation, Pavia is, I think, to me, I get the run now for the Notre Dame running back and all that thing. I think Pavia is a great story. I think it's a fantastic story. And if there was an MVP, he's the MVP because his team he pushes that team, on the field. Maybe not a Heisman Trophy, but I think I would lean towards him a little bit. The thing is that you got Vanderbilt. If Vanderbilt wins the game, Chuck Lee becomes a really big get for somebody as a next coach.
I think win or lose.
I think if he loses to Tennessee, and I know it sounds it's a big one way or the other. There's going to be a little bit of tarnish to the situation. This is a game that he should go out and win. This is not the toughest game he's faced of the year.
No, but they're the underdog in the game, so
Yeah, I get that, but I think that they are an upper echelon SEC team this year.
Oh, no question.
I think that he's got that. These are the games that you go out because you're supposed to win these games. This is not a blowout thing, but I could see 35-17. I could see 35-24. I think Vanderbilt can score points. Not impressed with Tennessee's defense very much, although we put up a 0 basically against them. But that was a lot to do with us than it was anything else.
Right.
But I think Vanderbilt should win this football game, and it shouldn't be a problem for them.
And then, of course, Saturday night, 7:30, Alabama at Auburn. Lions 5.5. This is Auburn season, folks. I mean, and there's precedent here. Alabama struggles on the plains big time.
They do.
With that Saban guy, they struggled with him.
Absolutely, they do.
They needed the 4th and 31 2 years ago to get the win in the corner of the end zone. Alabama better because right now they're the last team in. They lose, they're out. And that's that's a simple 100%. Kalen DeBoer. You just go and you say, listen, boys, we had a little cushion, lost it against Oklahoma. We lose, we're out.
So another quick thing about that, you're right. They played terribly at Auburn, but who is Auburn's quarterback going to be? Okay,
good question.
Do you know? If we asked 20 people with this podcast and said, who's the head coach right now for Auburn? They wouldn't know who it is.
Right.
DJ Durkin. He's out of his mind. He's at Florida forever. He's one of those jump around, super, super enthusiastic guy. Okay. He's not great as a head coach. That's for sure. He had his chance at Maryland and he didn't do very well there either.
Right.
But interesting sidebar. hearing stuff about Kalen DeBoer that he's not happy in Alabama. His family doesn't like it. He's not happy. If you lose to Auburn and you're out of the playoffs, a lot of crap is thrown your way. Right.
For sale sign on his front lawn?
Absolutely. And does he say, I don't need this? This is not worth it to me, because they're expecting and demanding perfection, and that's not a fair way to be played out. And he followed the guy. Everybody knows how hard you followed Nick Saban, and so the expectation is you got to be as good as Nick. That's not how it works. Nope. There's not another. They don't grow Nick Sabans on trees. Nope. Okay, so
they grow them in Verbos. By the way, they grow Nick Sabans in Verbos.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Verbo.
There you go. But the funny part is that all the stuff that's going on wildly about coaches and whatnot, that if Alabama loses, does the board just say, get me out of here now? Because again, it's that job is not for everybody. And I've said it from day one about him that he's not the right guy. I don't think he's the right guy. You've got to be a very tough-mannered, tough-skinned guy. And he didn't come across as that to me. I think he's a good coach. I'm not sure he's good for the job at Alabama. We'll see.
So does that mean Lane Kiffin kind of slows his roll a little bit? Because that's his dream job.
All he has to say, Rich, is on Saturday, I'm leaving Ole Miss. I want to coach my team through the playoffs. I have not committed to anything else. My family and I are still trying to figure things out, but we do know that this is a chance for us to take a step. Thank you very much, and walk away from it right there, and see where things roll out.
Do they let him coach? If you're Ole Miss, do you let him coach?
Well, I heard the argument, the Desmond Howard argument about the Bo Schembechler and Bill Frieder going to Arizona State, and I want a Michigan man coach in Michigan and that kind of thing. I get that. Mm-hmm. And I think in the short-term scenario, an assistant coach could get you through that, okay? Could potentially get you where you want to go. If I'm the AD, I sit him down and say, you want to coach this team? I don't want to see you on the weekends going to recruit kids for LSU. Either you remain the coach until we're done, and there's no other. You're not. There's no night job that you're going to go hang out, whatever. If you can do that, then you can stay. If you can't, and you're going to be distracted, because all we're going to hear is that Mississippi lost when they do lose, if they do lose, because Lane Kiffin didn't give it all.
Right.
So I'd rather lose from a guy who's giving it all than a guy who is going to be perceived to not give it all. Give him his chance, be fair, but don't play. If he can't answer that right away and say, hell no, I'm not doing it, then you say, there's the door. Go start your job somewhere else.
All right. Long college segment, nearly an hour.
It had to be, Rich. It just had to be. Yeah.
All right. 941 Sports Zone, brought to you by, you've heard him in the background, Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, 941-251-4257. Locally owned, nationally backed, right in our backyard, 941-251-4257. To the NFL, Sunday Night Football last night. Got my visit in with my wife, went and got a beverage, sat down, and within 30 minutes changed the channel.
Yeah, it was tough.
Listen, the Rams are a very good football team. Let's start there.
100%.
They might be the best football team in the league right now, New England notwithstanding. I know New England has a better record by half game. The way the Rams are playing right now, they've won 6 in a row, and the only 2 games they lost, they probably should have won. They missed 2 kicks at the end of the Philly game. So you want to look
They had the Philly game sewn up. They were winning that game pretty easy.
Yes. So, but, and I'm not going to give away too much of what's bugging me, but 34-7 Rams. Baker Mayfield comes out in the second half with a sling on. Results of the MRI today, totally typical Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
He's got a sprain. My ass. He doesn't have a sprain. He's got a separated shoulder. The way he went down, he looked like he was shot when he went down trying to throw that Hail Mary. It's way more than a sprain.
And a sprained shoulder, he wouldn't be grabbing at his chest
Correct. Thank you.
There's way more to that, and it's a bunch of BS. They're gonna. I think what they found out today, Rich, is that he needs surgery on his left arm, and they're gonna say he said, "Don't tell anybody. Put me in one of those sleeves or whatever it may be. I'll put, and my arm won't be immobile, and I'm gonna go out there and play." And nobody needs to know that I took an injection or whatever it may be to go play. That's my opinion. And if that's the case, the stupidity of it all is that's if you let that happen, let's just say it could be something that could be career threatening, and or it could be something that maybe he could heal up enough to get back before the playoffs. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but I get the feeling they're going to try to do whatever they can to keep him on the field. And so what was the big deal about Teddy Bridgewater? I mean, was he not the guy? Guys are going to get hurt. Your backup should be able to play it for.
The reason he's here because over Kyle Trask is because you asked the question if he's got to play 3 games, can he make them 2-1? Certainly, the schedule is in their favor. They play Arizona this week. They've got Carolina twice. They got Atlanta on a Thursday night, and we know how bad the Falcons are playing. Sunday notwithstanding. If you went and got Teddy, play Teddy. And Teddy did all right. They didn't score any points, and they messed up on a lot of 4th downs basically because the Rams just brought the house and sacked him. But I thought he moved the team pretty well in the second half. I did turn the game back on.
I think he's a good backup. I think he really is. But now he gets a chance to, if he prepare as the starter.
Correct.
Do what he needs to do. He'll be fine.
Yep.
And don't let Baker play. Who's ruling the roost, Todd? You
Correct.
Know what I mean? Who's the guy who's in charge?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So now the Bucs are. One time they were 5-1. I walked out of Raymond James Stadium after that San Francisco game. They were atop everything, and now they're 6-5. And we're recording this before Monday Night Football on Monday. You could be watching this, and the Bucs could be in second place if Carolina finds a way to beat San Francisco.
Yeah, and that's not a big stretch because San Francisco is very average at this point, and Carolina is they're on a Chicago Bear trajectory at this point where they're who knows,
up down. How they lost to the Saints a couple weeks ago is beyond me. They'd be in first place right now.
Yeah,
but they didn't. They blew that game. Speaking of blowing games, Philadelphia 21-0 early second quarter. They're yucking it up on the bench. This is going to be a rout. I even texted a friend of mine who lives in Texas, and I said, can we stop hearing about the Cowboys now? They're done.
Right.
They weren't even done in the day. Philadelphia's got some problems. They really do. I mean, yes, this game, Cowboys came from 21 down. They've done it a couple times in their history. It's a great win for them. I think they've really galvanized themselves after, the death that they had a couple of weeks ago. But fact of the matter is, this game's more about Philadelphia. They're up 21-0 with that defense, and they don't win.
What I was going to say.
What the heck?
Where'd that defense go
for
a while there? I know that they had a couple injuries during the game, but there was a lack of that one got away from them. That one got away from them. That was like you said, yucking it up on the sidelines. We got this. Dak looked terrible for a while there. He wasn't making good decisions.
And let's give him credit.
Yeah, he did. He turned it around pretty quick, and they let that happen. They really did, and it was and it should have been over earlier than overtime because why Brian Schottenheimer would not kick a field goal to take the lead into the game?
We talked about this. This was one of my other ones. A chance to take the lead late in the fourth quarter, and you go for it, and they got lucky.
Yes,
lucky,
very lucky. And they think that Philly's because here's what it is: Philly have to go down and score a touchdown, which they hadn't done anything all. So if they kicked the field goal and tied it, what's the big deal?
No, it would have given them the lead, John. It was 21-all at that time.
No, I'm saying if Dallas would have kicked the field goal.
Oh, yeah. I got you.
Okay, you take the lead. You take the damn lead. That was, and then the play call
did the same thing.
The play call was atrocious.
Yeah.
It was stupid.
Yeah.
That was terrible. I mean, they all the way to come back from that. And I don't know if you saw watch the you can read lips. But our Pickens, or whatever his name is, George
Pickens,
was saying, why the F did we not kick a field goal?
Yeah.
You can see his lips. What are we doing? What are we doing? Yeah. Kick a field. Why didn't we kick a field goal?
That's what got lucky on that one. He got lucky.
Because if they lose that football game, that's all they're talking about in Dallas is what a stupid-ass move that was.
Yeah. The season would be over.
Yeah.
So that's all you'd have to talk about.
They're done. Right. They're done.
Speaking of somebody who was done and came up off the mat, Kansas City Chiefs, down 11 going into the fourth quarter against Indianapolis. And from that point on, through the overtime, they outgained Indianapolis something like 280-something to 10.
Yeah.
Talk about folding up like a cheap 10. Indianapolis had that game. They had Kansas City dead. Kansas City loses that game, they're not making the playoffs. I don't care.
Coach and quarterback. I will say it. I'll say it over and over again.
Yep.
Coach and quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts are Shane Steichen
and Daniel Jones.
On the other side, multiple Super Bowl champion Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
There's a reason that happened. Okay. I'm not saying it's strictly for them, but they had 18 total yards in the fourth quarter, or they had
overtime
4 and out 3 times in a row, or 3 and out 4 times in a row, whatever it was. So when you say like the best guys out there for a long time, Tom Brady was the guy, right? Tom Brady figured out how to get it done when it needed to. He didn't win them all. He didn't go 18-0 every year or whatever it was.
Right.
But when crunch time comes, for the most part, Patrick Mahomes is going to figure it out with Andy Reid's guidance. They're going to figure it out. He's going to make a play where he needs to make a play. He understands moving the chains. He understands where his secondary guy is. Dimes looks good in the pocket when he's got time, right? Dimes looks good, but no, he's not ready to make that step. He's definitely not ready to make that step.
Yep.
Good player, good year. They'll make the playoffs. They could make a little bit of a run, but they
dropped from the 1 seed to the 3 seed just with this loss.
Yeah, no doubt.
And they've got some games left, including a couple with Jacksonville, who's only 1 game behind them now, despite the fact that Trevor Lawrence was playing Santa Claus early, 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and a fumble. And yet Jacksonville still finds a way to beat Arizona in overtime, 27-24. They knock a pass down around the goal line on the final play of the game. So the Jags, as I mentioned, trying to give the game away, they had it. They had 4th and 1 up 3. So kick the field goal, go up 6, and make Arizona score a touchdown.
Right.
Nope. Going for it. Don't get it. Arizona only needs a field goal. And look, they got it. And it took the game to overtime. Somehow Jacksonville survived Liam Cohen's stupidity.
Yeah. So Jacksonville and Indianapolis. But I'm going to tell you right now, Houston, you don't want to face that team.
No.
That was Thursday night. And I don't watch too many Thursday night games because I just get tired. I want to flip stations, and I can't flip stations when I put it on Prime. Right. One of my little pet peeves. But anyway, I watched it, and I watched Josh Allen try to be Superman. Like I told everybody, here he goes doing his stuff. 8 sacks. I got it on that same look on his face. Million miles stare after the game's over. I got to throw the ball out of bounds more. I got to do this more. I got to do this more. Yeah, no doubt. And James Cook's a great player, but who the hell is he throwing it to if he doesn't have Dalton Kincaid to throw to, right?
Right.
So Buffalo got exposed, but Houston, that defense, oh my God, that's the 2 best defensive ends in the league right there.
Yeah.
Combo. That combo is unbelievable. They look scary. I wouldn't want to find those guys in an alley. Forget about it. They are some unbelievable.
Speaking of scary, how about those red uniforms? Oh.
They're disgusting. It's stupid. We talked about this. They need to go, if they're going to go with alternate uniforms, just do the old uniforms.
Yeah.
They should wear the Houston.
Well, they don't have any old uniforms. They would have to come out as the Oilers.
Do the Oilers.
Can't do that. Apparently.
What's his face?
Tennessee now. Yeah.
I'm sure they could figure something out. Like, look what they did this year with the alternate uniforms. Like the Jets have it says Gotham on their shirts or whatever it's going to be. So I mean, I get it. But look, the Bucks look good in the creamsicles twice a year. There's a lot of good stuff, right? So anyway, yeah, the red was horrible.
Yeah. Anyway, but Houston's now 6-5. They're a game behind Jacksonville and 2 games behind division leader Indianapolis. Meanwhile, Kansas City, they have Thanksgiving Day with the Cowboys, and that to me is an elimination game.
Losers out. It is. You're right.
They're 5-1. The Cowboys are, and Kansas City 6-5. Nobody can afford a 6th loss in this game.
No, and they're saying that 10 wins is going to be that's the bottom for people to get in the playoffs. So you have no wiggle room if you lose a game. Just none.
They're done.
And the half game that the Cowboys have, that counts as a regular. That's a loss.
Yeah.
That tie is a loss for the Cowboys. So they're technically 5-6 right now.
Detroit rallied from 10 down in the 4th, but doesn't everybody against the Giants? That's the 5th time this year they've lost a double-digit lead in the 4th quarter, despite the fact that Jameis, I thought, played extremely well, and they were bringing out plays right out of the, in the backyard. You go over here, I'm going to throw it to you, and then I'm going to throw it back.
Well,
he caught a touchdown pass. He threw a flea flicker touchdown. But in the end, he also had a Jameis throw in the 4th quarter.
Can't help himself.
Where he threw a pick. But he should be the quarterback for the rest of the year for the Giants. He gives them the best chance to win.
Don't bring Dart back. It's stupid. It's not worth it. But I was
much
defensive coordinator for the Giants and the defensive coordinator for the Giants and offensive coordinator for the Raiders got 3rd prize. They both got fired today. So
and we'll get to the Raiders thing in a second. I mean, I guess it's Chip Kelly's fault that Geno Smith got sacked 10 times. 10 times. Josh Allen looks up and goes, "Wow, that's a lot of sacks."
Well, I was never a big Chip Kelly guy for the pros.
Yeah,
well, and why
last year?
Why didn't he stay at Ohio State? I don't know what I don't get it with him.
It's not a challenge. He won the national championship. What's he going to do? I mean,
I don't know.
What are you going to do for an encore?
But now we all want to do. We want to have banners. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I think that there's always somebody who's trying to he's a guy I think that's trying to finagle his way back into the NFL somehow as far as a head coach. He's done. He
just took a step back for sure.
Yeah, he's Mouse Davis back in the run and shoot.
The run and shoot. Oh man, Baltimore didn't take them all season to get back to first place. They are in first place after week 11 as they beat your Jets. Jets actually had a halftime lead in that game. They did a really good job against Lamar, but in the end, if you don't score and you keep fumbling inside the red zone, you're not going to win. 23-10 Baltimore.
One jet point real quick. So they look better with Tyrod Taylor and Justin Fields. Their defense is playing better without Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. Playing better. I'm not saying that the other 2 guys are not good players, but they're playing better.
Right.
Sometimes who runs the show. And I think we're finding out that they're getting rid of people who are overly
valuing themselves.
Yes, I totally agree. And so now you move on from them and you're winning, or you're not. You have won since they left, and you look like a much better football team.
Right.
They're hitting harder. They're doing just watching that game. What a difference it made. That's and then to have that happen. Get 2 players that are now contributing to you as well, and have 5 first round draft picks.
Yeah,
I feel better now than I did at the beginning of the season in that situation, because moving forward, there's a plan. Moving forward, something is happening, and it's not about placating to a player or an owner. It's getting the right people on the field that want to play the game the right way.
So Baltimore wins. Pittsburgh loses in Chicago, but Pittsburgh always loses in Chicago. They're now 1-13 all time in Chicago.
Wild? That's
and
funny.
Aaron Rodgers did a discount double check. He really wanted to play, but unfortunately, Mike Tomlin's his coach, and if there's anybody more conservative than him, let me know. Anyway, 31-28, the Bears win again. They're 8-3, and they're setting up that showdown with 8-3 Philadelphia on Black Friday. The Bears just continue to win, and it's not pretty, but they're winning.
Yeah, and but that's the game. Figure out how to win. Sometimes that's what happens when you say about Go back to high school. Okay. Are we here to win games, or we're here to win games a certain way? Is it culture? Is it about flash or whatever? No, you figure out how to win, whatever that may be. I'm a golfer. I play golf on the weekends. I play against my buddies. If I shoot an 87 and I win, I still won. And if I had a putt better than hit drives, whatever I got to do that day, you do. Right. And I think that's how winners do it. That's Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Do I got to run? Do I got to throw it underhand? Do I got to throw it backwards over my head? What am I going to do? Are they going to give us the run? I check into a run so Pacheco can have 20 yards on a run. That's what you do. It's not about you and the style that you want to do it in. It's winning the football game. That's what matters. And so often it's lost on people. Well, what great plays, and he made some. Did he score? Did he win? That's what matters.
Absolutely. Speaking of winning, all New England is doing is winning.
That's it.
9 in a row. And let's give Mike Vrabel, let's give him a tip of the cap. He went for it on 4th down early in the game. Didn't get it. What does he do the next 4 times he goes down? Kicks a field goal.
Right.
How many did they win by? 6.
That's
how much is each field goal? 3. Pretty simple math there, folks.
Right.
And the Patriots despite the fact that they gave up a pick 6 and they lost 2 offensive linemen, including first-round draft pick Will Campbell.
Yeah, I saw that.
Both injuries look like they could be not just a game or 2. So New England finally getting bit by the injury bug, but they keep finding ways to win.
And you got a coachable kid at quarterback.
Who has amnesia, obviously, because he forgot about that interception right away.
Right, and all they're asking him to do is go manage that game and go win. Don't lose it. Don't lose it for us, okay? Mm-hmm. Make smart decisions. You'll grow from this. You're going to get better. You'll make tighter throws. You'll make quicker decisions. But right now, this is what's going to do. You want to be a winner? Let's go do it. And now they're saying he's a front runner for the league MVP because he's following what his coach is saying, and Vrabel knows how to win.
Top 3, Matt Stafford to me is the front runner. He is.
Oh yeah, I agree with
30 touchdown passes since his last interception. Think about that.
Yeah, and he can throw it 80 yards underhand. He can do all kinds of stuff.
But you're right. He's in the conversation for MVP. And what is he doing? He's doing what Mike Vrabel tells him to do. Again, tip of the cap to Vrabel, and he's adjusted. He's a different coach since he left Tennessee, in my opinion.
Yep. I'm not a Robert Kraft fan, but I'll tip my cap to Robert Kraft. He got the coach he wanted, and moving away from Gerard Mayo as fast as he did, right?
Yeah, 1 year.
Because 1 year not working. He figured it out fast, and he went out and got Mike Vrabel. Genius move. Really, I mean, he could be executive of the year with that because he didn't let it get away from him. He knew wasn't going to hang around and watch somebody flounder in the job that they weren't prepared for yet and off and running. And there you are. You're in a division now that was winnable. We said it before, but Buffalo would be down, and they are. And who's taking advantage of it? New England
Patriots. Yep. Yeah. Speaking of decisions, the Minnesota Vikings, and I know there's my buddy Robert Garcia watches this religiously in his home in Austin, Texas. He's a big football guy. The decision that the Vikings made to move on from Sam Darnold and to go to J.J. McCarthy. I know it's only a few games, and I know it's only the first year, but again, and I kind of brought this up even when he was getting drafted and he was going to be a first-round draft pick. I don't think he played quarterback enough at Michigan. I mean, he was shut down. And there's the famous game where they ran the ball all but one time in the second half of one of their games.
It was against Penn State.
He's not doing anything. So, and he is really struggling. Just 87 yards passing, 2 picks, and sacked several times. Minnesota could be in for a long few years with J.J. McCarthy.
So big mistake. Obviously, they whatever that. But here was the tell for me about McCarthy. He could have been drafted by his old college coach.
Correct.
And he said, no, I'm good. So there should have been something there that told you what he was all about. Did he do exactly what he was told? In a college setting, yes. Do I think he has arm talent? Yes. But he's not NFL ready.
I was talking to my buddy, and his mechanics are so screwed up right now.
He's not NFL ready. Kevin O'Connell's a good coach. I think he can help him. But man, when you were the Vikings and you're that close to being at the next level, and you've taken a step back, and it's really all on the quarterback's head at this point. You hate to say it, but that's the problem at this point. Think about it. Think of the receivers this guy's got.
Yes.
Hawkinson at tight end, I'll go with him first. And then you've got Jefferson and Addison.
Yes.
Come on. I mean, they should be running open all over the place, and he can't get anything right.
Yeah. Speaking of Darnold, Seattle, off the dreadful performance last week where he threw 4 INTs. I know it's Tennessee, but hey, nice bounce back.
Yeah.
They win 30-24. And again, all they did is win. And let's give a tip of the cap to Shedeur Sanders. Were his stats off the wall? No. But for a Cleveland Browns team, and they had Dylan Gabriel, and he wouldn't stretch the field, at least Sanders stretched the field. Right. 11 completions, 200 yards, and a touchdown. And earlier today, his coach said he's our starting quarterback from here on in. And they got to figure it out because Gabriel played 6 games, and now he's going to play 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And they got to figure out if either one of them's worth anything. So at this point, you got to play Shedeur. 24-10, they beat the Raiders. As you mentioned, Chip Kelly gets a copy of the home game. Like it's his fault that offense sucks. Yeah. Geno Smith, terrible decision. Again, Pete Carroll, hung his hat on his former quarterback. And unfortunately, it's not working out.
I never understood the rehire of Pete Carroll at the Raiders. I thought he was the game and kind of scurried past him a little bit, and he's not. That team is not prepared to be a winner at this point. They're not even close. I think they are probably maybe the bigger disappointment of any team. And so far, Gentry doesn't look like he's the guy at this point.
Well, but he's running behind a brutal offensive line.
True. I'll go there, but he doesn't. He looks small. He looks really small, and I don't know if he's got.
Well, again, he played at Boise. There's a reason he played at Boise. So
again,
but hats off to the Browns. They won their 3rd game. Oh, by the way, Myles Garrett, he's going to break the sack record. And he's going to blow by it. He had 3 more sacks yesterday. He's got 17 sacks already.
The goal for him should be 30.
Yeah,
just run away with the record. Just go to 30. I think he can definitely do it.
Mighty Dog taking care of business security wise here. Nice menu on Thanksgiving. Green Bay at Detroit.
Yes.
Winner is in really good shape and can chase the Bears. The loser has some work to do and if depending on what the rest of the schedule does, can somehow find their way on the outside looking in. Mm-hmm. They really could in the playoffs.
No doubt. Then the Cowboys and the Chiefs.
We already called that an elimination game.
And then we got Cincinnati and Baltimore. Yeah.
Got Cincinnati and Baltimore, and the Ravens have won 5 in a row. Have they been impressive? No, but they're winning football games. So,
but that's what they always did. That's what they always do. They have one game where Lamar goes nuts, but most of the time it's just they scrounged away to wins, and next thing you know, they got 11 and they're division champions.
We talked about the Black Friday game, Chicago, Philadelphia. That's a 3:00 kick too, right in the middle of all the college action. It's going to be what a Friday. Friday.
This is why I got the 4 box. Yeah, I can watch 4 games at once.
Sunday, Arizona likely against Teddy Bridgewater in Tampa Bay. The Bucs need to start stacking wins to try to get to 11 or 12 and win the division. Jacksonville's at Tennessee. That's a dangerous game. Tennessee's playing better. They really are.
They could have. They're swinging for the fences. They're trying hard.
Yeah, they could have quit. Seattle got up like 30-13, right. And they could have quit yesterday, and instead they kept playing. So
you're right.
Good on them. Houston and Indy, that's a game. That could be a bloodbath. Again, the way Houston's defense is playing, an extra 3 days off. Indy, suddenly some doubt creeping in.
If you're if you're Houston's defense, you're drooling to get to Danny Dimes.
Yeah. No question.
Jonathan Taylor's going to have a hell of a game for them to win that game.
Carolina at home against the red-hot Rams. That's a pretty big game. Buffalo at Pittsburgh. That's the late, juicy game. Again, the Steelers suddenly 6-5 and fighting for their playoff lives. The Bills are 7-4. And basically, I think at this point are going for wild card positioning. I can't see the Patriots losing to them and 2 other games.
Interesting game because Pittsburgh hangs their hat on defense, and do they look at what happened last week with Houston and say, "Hey, we got to get Josh Allen off his mark.
Absolutely,
he's got nowhere to go with the ball. We got to go after him."
Problem is, I don't think they have the horses, John.
I got you.
I don't think they have the horses.
You there? Yeah. Okay. No, you're right. You're right.
Sunday Night Football, Denver at Washington. Sounded good at the beginning of the year. And the Monday night game, the Giants at New England. Sounded bad at the beginning of the year. But now, the Giants are, they're probably going to lead by 10 in the fourth quarter again. And New England's going to find a way to win. So, there you go. That's your schedule in the NFL. Locks of the week. John, you and I are on a cold streak. Big time.
I know.
We're both 5-4. I went the homer pick with a team that hasn't won on the road in 2 years. I got what I deserved. Unfortunately, 2 of our local teams that we both thought that were going to advance did not advance.
I know.
That was your lock, so it's 5-4. I'm going with BYU. Again, I'm going to fall into the trap. Why is this game only 18.5? I think they beat you at UCF by 30. They've got to have style points first off.
I totally agree. I don't see where but I mean, it's the line's the line. They're trying to lure money on both sides, so they got to figure out what's going to be. So I think that's a good call for you right there. I had a couple of games in mind. I wasn't sure which ones. I wanted to stick in college this week and kind of get into the meat of it. I don't want to pick Florida State. It's just not worth it. The game's not worth picking.
Correct.
I'm trying to get one that had a little juice behind it. So I'm going to take Texas A&M.
That's a good pick. Yep. We talked about that. Only laying 2.5. Wow.
Yeah. I like them because I think and the game has a lot of meaning. It's a good rivalry game. It's probably there's enough substance. They're both right around the playoffs, so I think there's something to
Texas
that.
A&M's in bye territory.
Yeah.
Whereas Texas is Texas needs a miracle. So, but I think that's an excellent pick. So we'll both probably lose. Anyway, all right. What's bugging me? You've kind of been teasing yours throughout. You want me to start or you want to go?
I'll go first. Why not? So what I think is bugging me the most. I've had a few things bugging me this week, but this one seems to be, it was sort of the theme of the weekend. What's bugging me is Scott Strickland, the athletic director at University of Florida. His track record as a hirer of coaches is atrocious. He's getting his 4th chance at hiring a football coach, which is, nobody gets 4 chances at hiring a football coach. You get 3, and the 3rd one you don't get right, you're gone, especially in the SEC. But in amongst all the things that are happening, there seems to be somehow or another, and there's rumors out there, things you can hear here and there, that somehow or another he's lost the inside track on Lane Kiffin. Now, I've said on this podcast to friends, everybody else, that I am not a Lane Kiffin fan. I think that he's got a screw loose. He always has, but there's no doubt about his talent as an offensive coordinator and play caller. He's on top 3 in the country, no doubt about it. So, but if you're going to go get him, go get him. Okay, if you're going to be University of Florida, like you want to pretend to be, that this is a job that is a destination job. Why in the world is this a problem to get it done? Because it seems as though some things we're hearing is Scott Strickland wants to have more control over things than he deserves. He doesn't deserve to be involved with some decisions. he's shown you that he's mediocre. He would have been fired years ago if they ever got it. There's the act together regarding the hierarchy at the University of Florida. They don't have a president. They don't have a lot of things they don't have. And the AD's been stuck there because what do we do if he leaves? Well, then there's nobody in charge of anything.
Right.
So this needs to get rectified. When we hire a coach at the University of Florida, as far as the football team is concerned, I think the next thing that somebody should do is fire Scott Strickland. Okay. Because I think.
But who's going to do it?
Well, that's the point. Because I don't think that the hire is going to be something that everybody's going to relish or going to be excited over, where I think they would be with Kiffin. Again, I have my reasons, but I agree with other people's reasons why he's a good hire. But if you can't get it done, then you fired Billy Napier 5 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, whatever it was, and you can't get this done, then you're a bubbling fool if you can't get this done. And so that's the part that needs to be. You got to get it right. You got to get it done. And if you've made missteps up to this point for him to go look at LSU and other places, then you need to go get it right and figure it out. And there's booster money out there that'll take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. There should be no money issues, and it should not be a situation where you're going to have a power struggle with an incoming coach. It makes no sense.
I like it, and I agree.
Yeah,
this is a pretty big hire. Again, you're used to being at the top of the SEC, and right now you're in the bottom 5, whatever.
Yeah, no, you might. No, you're seeing lower.
Right, staring 3-9 in the face. I mean, 3-9. You got to go back to the '79 season when they went 0-10-1.
You barely beat Mississippi State at home. You were losing, and they just made a stupider play than you did.
Right,
and you would have been 2 games. It would have been Texas and Long Island. It would have been your wins.
Right.
When you're that low, you better figure out something quick.
All right, my what's bugging me directly involves the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, directly involves the game last night. And it actually directly involves what's happened since really the bye. And it involves Todd Bowles, somebody who I've supported. I've really supported Todd Bowles. There are a lot of people, a lot of my friends. I know Robert Ellingson watches this pod, and he's been on the Fire Todd Bowles bandwagon since basically he got hired from when Bruce Arians suggested him for the job and he got hired. And up till Sunday night, I was like, all right, well, if we can somehow find a way to be, in the Rams game, and it comes down to the fourth quarter, I can see that. That team was not prepared last night.
No,
not prepared at all. And I know there are injuries, and I know they were missing their best corner in Jamel Dean, but they paid a lot of money for Zion McCollum, and he was toast all night long last night. Yeah. Absolute toast. The offense sputtered around. They got one drive where they had the touchdown to Tyler Johnson, but overall just didn't do much. Baker Mayfield only had 41 yards in the first half. And here's the thing that really bugs me. For the second consecutive year in a game that was lost. Listen, they weren't going to come back from 31-7 down. There's no way.
Right.
Yet he lets Baker Mayfield go back on the field for the end of the first half. And who knows how much more damage he did with that Hail Mary throw where he went down like it was shot. Again, the MRI came back that he has a shoulder sprain. No. Let's get a couple of doctors on this to tell me what part of the breastplate is part of the shoulder. Okay. So Baker could be, if it's as bad as we think it is, I mean, Baker's going to try to play because he's a gamer. But fact of the matter is, at this point, I would roll with Teddy Bridgewater until he's absolutely healthy.
There's no reason not to, and right. I think that you're right. And I've had my issues with Todd Bowles as a Jets coach.
Right.
I thought his enthusiasm for the game never came across. I thought that he was too friendly with players. I thought it didn't seem like there was this follow the coach kind of scenario. They were more about, being friends, I guess you would say. And so, yeah, I see the same problems with the Buccaneers. They're not unsolvable, but they've got to get something on track.
Well, the schedule's going to help them solve it, but fact of the matter is, and they could finish. They theoretically could finish 12-5. I don't think they will.
Yes,
maybe 11-6, which will still win them the division. But that's a scheduling thing. You still look at all the games that they had against good competition. They did beat Seattle. Okay. They did beat San Francisco, although San Francisco was playing their backup quarterback, but they played him a lot this year, and he got them a lot of wins, Mac Jones. But if you look at the Philly game, where they fell behind 24-3 like that, you look at the New England game, where that game was lost at the end of the first half and the start of the second half, and basically the Bucs were pushed around. You look at the Buffalo game where Josh Allen went crazy, 3 touchdowns running, 3 touchdowns passing. And then you look at last night's complete debacle, 106 points given up since the bye. That's not 4 games. That's not 5 games. That's 3 games.
Yep.
And who's in charge of the defense?
Right. And that's the point. That's the point I get with it. It is all this stuff. He's the guy. He's the guy who has to fix it. And you get this sort of like nothing's like he doesn't give any perspective that looks like you're going to make an adjustment or fix it. It's like, oh, this is what's happening, and this to drive me crazy. Let's get it going here. And he's just doesn't mean he can't figure it out. This is not a do or die situation right now, but it's getting close to where it'll have to be there because you don't want to see the season go down the toilet. You can blame injuries too. Godwin was hurt, and Mike.
They were 5-1 with the injuries. Okay,
exactly.
They were 5-1.
What went wrong? Somebody figured something out. Where is the problem?
The Detroit game, and from there it went south. And but there's the lack of preparation last night, embarrassing yourselves on national television.
Yeah,
all the pundits. I guess the Richard Sherman's never been a Bucs believer. He's just giggling it up today because he's been proven right.
Yeah.
I mean, even if this team wins the division, you think they're going to beat Seattle again if they're the 5 seed?
No.
Because the Bucs are going to end up probably as the 4 seed. They might luck out and get the 3 seed. So then they might have to play Detroit. You think they're going to beat Detroit? No. And if somehow they win one of those games because it's at home, then they go on the road next week to take on, I don't know, Philly.
But you're laying out best case scenarios too right now.
Absolute best case scenario.
Right,
this team could still lose the division.
Right.
At which point I think Todd Bowles is gone. I think there's only one scenario where Jason Light, pulls the ripcord, and that's if somehow this team does not win the division.
Right. I agree.
And I know Bucs fans are frustrated to hear that. Last night they were in the chat rooms just want him fired right now. But if they win the division, Jason Light has proven beyond the shadow of a doubt that, we're just going to stick with it. We keep winning divisions. When is the division not going to be good enough?
Right. When do you see no changes being made to get better? Where's the change to get better?
Exactly.
You can be, but if you're not doing anything to adapt to it, and I will say this real quick, the thing about Baker Mayfield that I like the most is that he does try to figure out how to win.
Yes,
he's not sticking with a plan. He'll go downfield, he'll run, he'll do whatever he needs to do. Sometimes I think Bowles doesn't have that. He projects that he's a one-trick pony, and this is what I do. And when it doesn't work, well, he kind of gets introverted, and he doesn't really come out and try to do anything different. And I just think that he's an in-game coach. He's not an adaptable guy that I've seen over the years. So we shall see. It'll be interesting to watch, to say the least.
Yeah. All right, that'll do it for the 14th edition this year of the 941 Sports Zone. We'll be back again next week. We'll have some clarity, I think, in college football. I think we're going to have at least 4 teams heading to the state semifinals.
Yes.
Maybe 5, like you think.
Yep.
In the 941. And I wish all the teams the best of luck. We both do, actually.
I 100%
all our local teams. And again, if you got time on Thanksgiving Day, practice at 8 a.m. out at Venice High School. They'll have all kinds of goodies for you.
Lots of sugary donuts and stuff. Yeah.
We'll take care of your sweet tooth, if you will.
Probably the worst thing you can have on right before Thanksgiving dinner. An extra 500 calories. Yeah.
All right. For John Turkey Day Masoni, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Be safe, and we want to see you next week. So long.
See ya.